Hello, artists and people who are learning to draw and enjoy that. Today I've got my subject is going to be these potatoes, and if you go and look, Van Gogh did a beautiful drawing with just potatoes, just sort of the lowly potato, but how just how much abundance there is when you go to the grocery stores and you see all of that. And so it's kind of nice to just really study something like this and just see all the cool shapes and the shadows as you learn to draw and practice. Just checking in to use the drawing activity as something that you're doing to enjoy a relaxation sort of feeling all over yourself. And so you can see what I was doing. I do a few of these just to get ready, and what I chose to do is 3 different pens, and I started off with this blue here and tried to do the entire subject with the light blue color, but of course I couldn't really get any of the shadows, and I realized that it would be better to just so this is, I think, a gel pen, and then I've got some backup pens, a regular blue pen and a black one to get the darker areas. So as you're sitting down and you're doing that and you're making all the different marks, you can see I was doing my warm-ups. And so let's get started. I'm just going to put that over there, and these are my backup pens. And I'm going to put just this copy paper on my piece of hardboard, and it's elevated as usual to give more perspective as you're drawing. And just looking at that subject, right, as I just relax and know that I'm going to start with the lightest color. So I've got this light blue pen, and the 2 objects, because one is farther away, in order to get that different size and portray that on the flat surface. If you look at the 2 potatoes, they're the same length basically, but then when you put them down to draw them and you want distance to be created, that's measuring is going to help you create that. So the difference, so I'm just going to position them so I can see them both, and as I take my measurements, I'm going to draw from that position as well. So when you're doing your measuring with your arm extended out straight, to take those measurements, and then you're going back and drawing on the surface. So as I said, I'm going to start with the light pen, but I'm going to do, and I don't know if this will hold out because you never know how much ink is left in these pens, but if we practice our warm-ups as we've been doing, and just putting the the material that's in the pen or pencil onto the paper and the little lines that you draw, really just enjoying that. So I'm going, and if you're right-handed, it would be easier. So you can see that curve in the line there where my muscles aren't developed in a balanced way to draw it straight, which is what I'm building up. And different directions, you'll have more of those bendy lines, when they curve, because the muscles, so we want to do a balancing of our muscles. So that happens and created when you go in both directions. So I'm going from right to left. So now I'm going to do the same diagonal, but I'm going to come down. And I've got a lot more control as I'm moving. Actually, I think I'm going to use this one just to make sure I preserve enough ink in that. So I'm just going to use this. So I'm coming down to do my warm-up. More straight, not the curves. And then I'm going to do the reverse. So pulling from right to left in that diagonal. And you can feel the muscles of the forearm working as you're doing that. Not as common movement as perhaps the one that you're more comfortable with. So this. Coming left to right, so right to left, let's come, and then light, so pressing harder, moving just the wrist, easier. So that's the diagonal that way. So I'm going to come up here and come from this down this way now, pull, and then up. And I can cross them, the cross hatching. And just checking in again to relax with your breath. It's interesting to note that there's many systems in your body that happen automatically, and breathing is one of them. But with breathing, you can actually control the breathing when you focus on it, which is kind of an interesting thing, wonderful thing about the breath. And I love this. I don't know about everybody else, but I love the sound of the scritching. So I've gone up and down, and you can do back and forth. And I'm just moving this. And then let's do some circulars. You can move the wrist more. Another way. So yeah, right to left, and then left to right, that way, and then the other direction, so here to left, down, left to right. You can see that big swoop there, so that's less muscles balance. So if you do some in both directions, that nice pulling of the line is going to even become more developed in the muscles so that you can make those nice. And let's just do some finer ones. Going across, so vertical, and then some horizontal, and then the other way, and diagonal, and then up in the same diagonal but from bottom to top, and then this way, and again reverse direction. Okay, so that's a good warm-up. All right, let's have a look at our potatoes. Hello, potatoes. So sitting up, and I want to be able to draw from the same position that I'm taking my measurements. So I'm going to be extending my arm as I sit up, but I'm still going to be able to move forward and draw onto the paper. And I'm going to do my extending so I can grab that measurement like we're learning. And as you're looking and doing the measurement, your eyes can wander and look at the dark values and the shadows on the potatoes. So I'm just going to mark this here and come across. And then the widest part of the potato here, arm extended, grabbing that measurement, so holding it away from the object. And then I've got the bottom aligned with the tip of the pen and the top of the potato aligned with my finger. So now I need to know where I'm going to place that. So actually I'm going to take a measurement in to where the widest part is, and then I'm going to mark that so that I know where to put that widest. So from there, at that end, aligned to the widest part of the potato is there. So that's where I want to put the widest mark. Then I'm going to grab that widest again. There. And again, I would take more time to grab those measurements more precisely. And I'm going to switch back because we're now doing this. So I'm going to go back to my lightest. And again, it's not meant to be a photographic representation. You're just learning a bunch of skills. So I'm just lifting my arm off the paper and just doing some of this. Okay, so that's my first potato measurement. Not exactly precise, but I can fix that up as I go. And then the length here of this one. So I'm butting up the edge of this potato that I see here and grabbing the length measurement. Actually, I'm going to take a measurement to see how far behind this potato is. So I'm going to grab a measurement from the bottom of the table up to where that potato is disappearing, and I'm going to just mark there. Now I'm going to grab that length. And then this, so an area that isn't your subject is called a negative space. So it's, we're going to get the distance between the tip of this potato and this one, and the in between. So here to here, the inner measurement. So I've got my, and it's quite small, even though it might look fairly large. So there. Joining this one, the edge. So you want to make sure that this one that's closer to you is in fact on your paper. So there's the length, and see how much shorter, even though those are both the same length of potato in reality. And then the height, sorry, I'm there to there, we're good. Because I was just doing a bit of freehanding. I come around. So you'll see that I can't get a lot of darkness with this color pen, but I think it's a pretty color, and it's just something different to use as we keep developing our line drawing. So I'm doing the squinting, and I'm looking for those shadows, the cast shadow. So it's coming right here, the darkest here. So I'm going to sort of do that legend idea again, where I show myself where I need to put my darkest shadow, and then it's fading, and then the width of it, and then here is this, it's about the same value here as it is on this side. So I'm going to do the same symbol, legend kind of a thing, and then the light highlight would be here, and the shadow from the absence of light on the subject, not as dark as this area, and especially not this area. So I'm going to go lighter. Actually, I'm going to come back in there to remind myself how dark this is, although you're looking at the subject so you can see. But if you're trying to have little guide rules on terms of shadows, it's good to establish a routine that you use for yourself that works for you in how dark the shadows are. So that would be my darkest where they meet. And then of course the highlights here. You could use a pencil if you wanted to, but I don't mind marking them out. So I know that these two areas, the potato has got its own little beauty marks. So now I'm just going to enjoy the process of the line making and let's do some verticals here, not too heavy because and the shadow is curving around. So if you think of your lines as making a beautiful mark, and that will come as you develop those muscle skills. Not so much skills, but I suppose development. And darkness here, quite a bit here. So I'm going to come in. I suppose you could leave it with just the gel pen, but I thought it was fun to have a few colors. And assessing, squinting. I'm going to come down here and have some fun with how dark this area is. So right at the potato where it's hitting the table, I'm going to do a bunch of these little verticals. The thing about a left-handed person is that you're coming across the material that you've just put down, which can be very frustrating because you can smudge. So you right-handed people, you're working that way, so away from the material. And you can see that I'm making sure that I'm not hitting the ink with my hand. And the other thing you can do is take a piece of paper as your hand moves across so that you're not smudging anything if you're a lefty. So I'm going to do some horizontals now, right up tight. And there's that lovely So these are longer, and I'm going to come back in and do some little wee ones. And then I'm going to go the other direction in my horizontals just to work those muscles. This way, left to right, and then right to left. And then this other area just gradually gets lighter. So I'm going to put some of my light blue in there. Some diagonals, left to right, and then right to left. This is where my wonkiness of my lines, but it's getting better. I haven't done much drawing for now that I'm painting more and using pastel, so the muscles, so this is a great exercise for me as well, to reestablish some of those muscles and enjoy it. So I'm referencing, and I can really see that there's so much darkness right here, right here. And then let's just pull some left to right, diagonal, about halfway. And then come the other way, right to left, pull. Right to left, right to left, right to left. Lighter and lighter. I'm going to work on the potato itself, so it's fun to do these little pathways to show the marks on the potato itself. Little eyes, some verticals, horizontals. Diagonals, right to left, left to right. Coming in here, this area is almost as dark as down here, so I'm going to come in here, and I'll use my other two pens as well. Now let's give some of these little potato marks like on the other one, and you're scanning the whole object, both of them, looking, seeing the shadow. There's more of this one that we started. And to me that's not as satisfying in terms of how much I want the dark values to be shown, so that's when I start to use the other colors. I've got a black and a blue ink. Let's have a look. It's kind of nice, kind of like it. Okay, so let's do, I'm going to do blue next, so I'm going to come in here and darkening this area as I'm looking and referencing, squinting this edge, and a curve right down there, up, vertical from the bottom. And it's more just to, it's not like this is less strong for me to go up, but I want to keep developing those muscle areas because both directions will be enhanced in terms of my line making when the muscles are balanced. You sometimes can get into some pain issues if the muscles don't both, on both sides, like there's one to pull and one to push. And if they don't get developed in a nice balanced way, sometimes people will often have that when they get what's called shin splints, when the calf muscle in the back is more strong, because a lot of times people don't realize they have to try and work muscles both directions or on both sides for nice fluid movement plus no pain. So I'm really going to enjoy this coming in here because it's really satisfying to be able to darken that area. So again, doing some of your diagonals, right to left, shorter and even shorter. That gives you a different amount of control, and you make them, or a different workout, so to speak. Left to right. To me, it's just so satisfying to do that and just enjoy the process. As you know, even though you're making a representation of an object, I just enjoy making of the lines as well. So now this area, quite dark. Some diagonals, right to left. And for righties, it would be probably the other direction that would be more difficult. You can slow it down. And you can curve slightly. And I'm referencing the potato. There's a little bit of marks here. And let's continue this. Left to right, right to left, and horizontal. And glancing over at the shadow. Mixing up the two colors. Crossing the different directions, pulling down. Still quite a bit of depth in the values of the shadow here. And I come and pull some this way. And then up. Vertical and then up. Okay, let's have a look. I'm going to come and put a little bit of the blue here. And then I'm going to place and push. It's nice and slow to build the muscle and down. So we've got this way and this way. Let's come and do some horizontals, verticals. And this is too intense compared to this, so I'm going to bring some of this out. Like the contrast is too great between that and this, because this area out here is not as dark as this, but I know I'm going to come in with the black as well, but this area needs to be not such contrast of whiteness. So we're going to put material down there. Let's go. So the more you space the lines, you see you're not going to get the same density. So the closer the lines are. And this time I'm moving my whole arm up. Okay, and now I'm going to come and do some of the black. So I immediately am going to know that I want to come in here and here, these two areas, and then a few little of the marks of the potato itself. Be fun to do. So let's do some of those. And you know, you're not doing exact, just little. So we're doing some top downs and then ups, moving across. And this one's got verticals and this way, so let's come and do this. Diagonal, down, and then up, push. This area's got curves. So I'm just looking to see what direction would be most interesting in terms of my crosshatches for the pleasure of the viewer, because I think it's nice to have a variety of directions. Horizontals. And for yourself to be able to enjoy looking at that. Okay, now we're going to come into this. And we've got this way and this way. So I'm going to start to do some butting right up to the edge. And just small little pulls down, probably about halfway, and then I'm going to switch directions so that both directions of my muscle gets a workout. The shadow is extending more here as the light is missing, blocked by the potato. Oops, I didn't switch. Here we go. I'm trying to stop right at the edge, so the stopping of the implement will also be a workout of the muscle. And the gradation of the shadow here isn't as light as I've got. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to go, okay, so I've got them this way and this way. So I think it would be interesting to pull, meet up with these lines here. Assess, this area needs to be a bit darker, so we're coming this way, and then if I'm looking at these ones, I'm going to extend, but farther apart. And this area doesn't look right to me, so I'm going to come and I'm going to go, okay, I want to come from these ones. But again, when you're making them farther apart, less density, so less appearance of that shadow. But you don't want it to be too much of a change, of a shift, because that's not how it would, it's not how it occurs. So I'm going to try and blend this a little. I'm just putting the material So I'm also noticing that I've put some black here and on this potato. I'll do a little bit more here, some fun little jiggity jogs. But this one, have we got much here? So I'm going to come in and put some in here. There's a little bit, I think, but there's no black, so it's nice to have a little bit of balance of the colors, of all the colors in both objects. So I've gone that way, now I'm going to come down, hitting, again having to stop right there. And then I'm assessing everything and how am I liking it. I see that there's a little bit more I want to put in here. Let's have a look. Sometimes when you just put the mat on there, you can just see areas that you want to tittle up a little bit. I know that the table needs to be represented somehow, and if I had more time to do, rather than trying to keep the videos to about a half hour, I would do more. And then of course you can spend as much time on each of your drawings if you'd like. And so now I'm going to come in, I think I'm going to use the black to represent the table. And I've just been doing the sort of the wood grain. Let's see. I don't like that that's got nothing in it. Present a little bit of black in here. A little bit more tittles on here. And then hopefully you've been enjoying making all these little marks and the process. Okay, so I think that's it for today, and if you've liked this, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. I hope you enjoy your drawing. Bye for now.